guys, welcome back to Relationships, Romance, and Propaganda. She was so nice, we had to bring her back twice. Look who's here.
They like me. They
loved me. Oh my God.
From last week, it is filmmaker Imani, Shakur, author, actress Rachel K. Burke, and the beautiful Jess is back. Don't know if her love language is words of affirmation, but if it's not, I apologize, Jess. If it is,
words.
there it is.
She likes
done.
it.
But I like touch. Is that one?
Touch is one
mine.
too?
Yeah, I like touch.
There you go.
Yeah,
Don't forget to check out Rachel's books, Love Bites. Can you show those, Rach? And then Sound Bites, a rock and roll love story. You know what I mean? It is the sexiest
All you
podcast.
women chasing musicians.
Yeah, there you go. It's the sexiest podcast on the planet. We broadcast the truth and expose the lies about relationships, love, sex, marriage, everything. And today we're talking about narcissists. I have a couple of narcissists. I have a narcissist story to tell you guys about one of my best friends. He listens, and I don't care if he sees this because I'm honest with him about it.
Okay.
Oh, I can't wait to tell you guys this story.
I know, but I'm sure you dated narcissists, right?
I'm sure I have. We're going to find out today.
We will, because I'm like attracted
You know
to
what
all.
I mean?
I'm attracted to narcissists. I hate to admit it. Yeah.
Yeah, see, there
but
you
Jess
go.
knows a lot of like scientific stuff about it.
That's good.
Talk about the science and the
Yeah. So I think we should probably have Jess jump it off.
Okay, we will.
And then we can chime in with our
Don't forget to subscribe
experiences.
before we get started. Thank all our listeners on all the platforms. rptalkstruth@gmail is the Gmail. And I think that's about it.
All right. Thank you, guys.
And
Love
we're
you.
going to talk about narcissism today.
Yes. How to avoid dating a narcissist.
How to avoid dating
how to
them.
know you're dating one, and how to know. And it's not just dating. This is important because people do have narcissists in their lives that are not just a romantic partner. Like it could be a mother or a grandmother or a brother or sister
Or a friend.
Or a father.
I mean, there are a lot of ways that a narcissist can come to your life. You could have a boss that's a narcissist. So like, knowing how to deal with one is going to save you a lot of time and energy. And sometimes you can get rid of them from your lives, and other times you can't. And you just have to deal. So
that's cool. And I'm going to get my pen ready. You know what I mean?
Get your questions ready.
So I can take notes if I need to. And Jess.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and Rach. Yeah, you guys are jumping it off again.
Yeah.
Yeah, these ladies, they're making my job easy. I like these episodes.
I know.
Ask the right questions to get the juices going. So
Yeah.
Okay,
but so
here
we'll
we go.
start it off by just talking a little bit about like a clinical narcissism as like a diagnosis. So it's important to make a distinction that, you know, I think that the word narcissism and narcissist is thrown around a little bit too loosely in our society, that we're really quick to call someone a narcissist.
That's a good point.
Might not be clinically, because so there's what's called narcissistic personality disorder. That's like a real disorder that, you know, requires a medical diagnosis, and we're going to touch a little bit on that. But I want to make, you know, none of us here are doctors, so we're not diagnosing anyone, and we want to make that disclaimer right now. Like, we might talk about people that we feel strongly are very narcissistic, but we are not diagnosing them. So I just want to make that clear, quick distinction. But everyone else on the planet falls in the line of in the spectrum of narcissism. There's like, you can be have extreme narcissistic tendencies or just a few. There are certain narcissistic characteristics that are human nature, and you know, a lot of us default to that sometimes, but that's not, you know, that's a distinction again from a true classic narcissist. And the word narcissist comes from Narcissus, who was a Greek god. I think he was a Greek person.
That's right. Yeah.
Where he fell in love with his own reflection.
Oh my goodness.
That's where
that sounds like one of my friends I'm going to talk about.
There's like a Marilyn Manson song where he says something. It's very clever, his lyrics about narcissism, and I'm going to have to come back to that because I have to think of what it was. But I was like, wow, he did something like love spelled backwards was evil, and I was like, oh, and then he did something with, it's something about seeing your reflection.
Yeah,
that's what it is. I got to think about that. We'll come back to that.
But yeah, so that's where it comes from, and so. The clinical narcissism is actually, so it all stems from infancy. So someone becomes a narcissist, a true classic narcissist, before the age of 5. Serious. It is hardwired into them as an infant, and it all comes with the proper or improper detachment from the parents and the attachment style and what happens with their parental figures at that age. And a lot of times the people that become clinical narcissists did not have the appropriate attachments formed at childhood. So a lot of times they were probably abandoned. Most of them were the result of neglect, emotional neglect. They didn't feel like their basic needs were met, and they were left alone crying for a long time, or maybe they were given inconsistent love, so the baby never knew like when that mother was coming back. And it's actually, when you look at it that way, it's kind of sad for these people that they have this formed at a very young age. And unfortunately, narcissism, the classic clinical narcissism, is one of, if not the only, psychological disorder that's basically untreatable, because in order to treat a psychological disorder, you actually have to be able to acknowledge and accept that you have a problem. And by definition, narcissists cannot say that they have
That's
a
everyone
problem.
else's fault.
Interesting.
Yeah, they cannot. There is no fault whatsoever to them, and it is so unbelievably painful for them to admit that there's any fault whatsoever that they can't. So that's why it's nearly impossible to treat. You just have to manage it. You cannot change them. You can't make them better. Like, they will never recover from true, honest narcissism. So the best way to find out if you're dating a narcissist is to ask them. Just say, hey, are you a narcissist? And if they can say, no, I'm not, they're probably...
Do narcissists know that they're narcissists?
No, that's the thing. I'm saying, so like, for me, if you've ever asked the question, am I a narcissist? You are not one. If you've ever actually stopped to say, am I a narcissist?
Oh, because I totally...
Would I be one? And you say, like, to just ask that question in the beginning means you're not one. Because a narcissist would be like, no, I'm not.
No, I'm perfect.
I couldn't possibly, I'm perfect. There's nothing wrong with me. I have no problems.
Right.
So what's this between the clinical and non-clinical?
So there's a spectrum then, because, there are, for survival instincts, like, you need to defend your ego. Like, that's, like, to be part of a tribe, like, of people, if you are rejected from the clan, that means death for you. That's why rejection is so painful, because it's actually like a biological need for us to be accepted.
Right.
Because if you're not accepted by the herd, you die. Like, you can't survive.
Right.
Humans are social animals. We cannot survive outside the herd. So it's, if people put you down or are mean to you, it's very painful. So a narcissist is trying to protect against those feelings of pain and neglect.
Interesting.
So all of us have that in us, to put our egos first and to put our egos ahead. And that's why there's a variety of people that fall along that spectrum. People who are really self-aware and are very confident are usually at the low end of the spectrum. And then people who are very insecure and have, haven't done a lot of soul searching usually fall at the other end of the spectrum. But they might not be clinical narcissists. They just might be extremely narcissistic, but they're not a narcissist. And
Gotcha.
It's a very subtle yet important distinction.
So I think you said the difference was, like, a narcissist, if you disagree with them, they will cut you off, right?
That's it.
Whereas like people with narcissistic tendencies will just talk about themselves incessantly, and it's all about them. So there can actually be like a difference. So someone said this to me recently, and I was like, whoa, like light bulb went off, is that narcissists are either, they're always the hero or the victim. And I went, oh my God, yes. And I was like, oh God, every guy I date is a victim. And I never put it together until that moment. I was like, oh shit, I'm attracted to narcissists. And I don't know what that is. And then I really had to think about it, because I was like, I have two pretty vain parents, they're all about like their appearance. But when I thought about it, I was like, and hopefully my family doesn't listen to this. I was like, shit, my dad is kind of a narcissist, because he's always the hero or the victim. He's the guy like at the airport that's like handing out bags to people, trying to help everyone, or he's the victim. It's like, oh, hey, hon, I was in the hospital this week. I almost died, but I didn't. Like he loves to like be the victim. And I was like, is that where I get it from? Like, I don't know. But all these guys I date, it's interesting. They're always like, oh God, my ex in Boston, his best friend even said that to me. He goes, I love him. He's my best friend, but he loves to be the victim. And I'm like, he really does. And then like the thing with getting into something with a narcissist or somebody who has narcissistic tendencies is a lot of times you don't realize it in the beginning. You don't realize it until you're
so charming. That is one of the biggest things about the narcissist. They will charm your pants off.
Yes.
And they will make you feel like you're the most important person, and you're so funny, and you're so this. And they just bring you into that scene.
Yeah, and they suck you in. And then once you're in it, and you're attached and you're not going anywhere.
That's when
they like bring you down. So like my recent ex, that was what happened, was he was always the victim. It was like, my ex-wife left me, my college girlfriend left me, like always the victim. But in the
like your.
I know. My friend actually calls me out. Yeah. But he really got me in the beginning, because we'd have these great conversations about relationships, and he was like, what are you looking for? And he really paid attention to me in the beginning. And then once I was in it, all of a sudden I realized our phone conversations every day, he talked about himself the whole time. Sometimes we'd hang up and I was like, he didn't even ask me how I was.
Wow.
And I was like,
big sign.
Yeah. And then but the thing is, at one point I brought it up and I was like, we talk on the phone for an hour, at least an hour every day. And sometimes you never ask me how I am. Mm-hmm. And the only time he would is like towards the end of the conversation, if he realized I was starting to get bored. If I was like, yep, okay, you went to the gym again today. Wow, that's great. Then he'd be like, oh, so how are you? And then as soon as he re-engaged me in the conversation, it was back to him again. And I'm like, my God, this is like, it's a hamster wheel, that like you can't get out of.
And a real narcissist actually, like, they're not stupid. They know how to play the game, and they will put in the effort to make it seem like they care. Like, they know to ask questions about how you're doing.
Right.
So like
human nature.
Yeah, human nature, just to like, give a person that warm feeling that you care, then it give you a
to suck them in.
Oh, suck them in, then you can talk about yourself again. So it's like it's very schematic, like strategically planned out. Like, they know what they're doing. They're master manipulators, and yeah.
But like also though, like the big thing going around now is like narcissist versus empath. Because I never thought I was an empath.
What's an empath?
So an empath is a person who is empathetic. So you can
feel the feelings of others.
You can feel you can feel other people's feelings. You have compassion. Because I'm gonna be honest, like I don't have a lot of compassion. If someone's like, wah, I'm like, suck it up, get over it. You'll be fine.
That's how.
But if they're actually feeling a deep feeling.
Well, what I noticed when I was in the relationship with the narcissistic guy, because he was actually a very depressed person, and what I noticed like throughout the relationship is I started to get depressed, because what you do is you take on those emotions and you start to feel them. And I didn't know, I thought something was wrong with me. Yeah. I was like, I don't know what's going on with me. But I started like, I didn't want to do anything. Like, I love to write, I love to be creative. And I honestly felt like I was starting to become him. Yeah. And all of a sudden I went, I don't even want to write anymore. I don't want to do any of this. I don't know who I am. I started to like take on his feelings, and I was like, maybe I should just settle down and have kids. I like became him. I had to go see an energy healer, honestly, in London. Mm-hmm. And whatever she did to me, I cried afterwards and I got everything out. And I went home and I was the next day I was like, oh my God, I'm myself again. Yeah. She had to literally energetically get that out of me. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh my God, I do have empath tendencies.
I think actually most humans, I think that's actually part of our social, like going back to that social structure of humans, like we do and can feel and take on, how like if someone comes into the room and they're super vivacious and you like all of a sudden feel energetic.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, you pick up their energy. Like we as humans have the ability to do that.
Right.
So if you're just spending all your time with someone who's depressed, it's only a matter of time.
But narcissists don't, right?
They don't. Well, narcissists, but the thing about narcissists is I think because they build up so many walls around them that their energy doesn't get out.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. It only comes out in the way of like manipulating you like mentally and emotionally, but like they don't, their energy is so stuck behind their walls that it just can't protrude. Because I do think that normal humans can pick up the emotions of others and feel that energy.
Yeah.
But can you be not a narcissist and not an empath? Like, do you have to be one or the other?
Well, so here's the thing. So one of the primary like cornerstones of narcissism is like a defining characteristic is a lack of empathy.
Right.
So like they have the complete inability to feel the emotions of someone else. And part of that is, so the interesting thing about like clinical narcissism is that they have no boundaries. They have no concept of boundaries. So like everyone is either an extension of them or an enemy. Mm-hmm. So that therefore, like if you're feeling a different emotion than what they're feeling, they're not going to pick that up because it's not them.
Yeah.
Because it's like basically 6 1 half dozen the other. What you're saying is the same thing, but they can't pick up that emotion because if it's not what they're feeling, they're not going to feel it.
Right.
So because so that's why if you ever cross a narcissist or you want to like call them out on something, that's it. You're dead to them.
Yeah.
You are now on the other team, and you may as well not exist.
Yeah.
So my grandmother was a narcissist, and I'll go into that in a little more detail in a minute. But I want to just rattle off a couple of key definitions. Of
People
narcissism.
look out for these when you're dating.
When you're dating. So these are the signs and symptoms of a true narcissist. And again, I want to remind you all, we're not doctors, but these are, you can look on.
But we're smart.
We're smart people. But also, there are people that can fall on the spectrum. So these might sound familiar. And you also want to avoid people that are towards the extreme end, even if they're not a true narcissist. Okay, so excessive need for admiration. Mm-hmm. Very big sign. Mm-hmm. Disregard for others' feelings and emotions. Mm-hmm. Another big sign. And a complete and utter inability to handle criticism of any kind on any level.
Yep. I got a story to tell you guys about.
Yeah, I know. I'm like,
I know.
Because as you were saying this, I was like, my God, the one narcissist I actually dated, that's a full narcissist, not tendencies. Yeah. And I as you're saying this, I'm like, he's every single one of those.
Yep.
And that's why it was toxic. Yes.
There's the lack of empathy one that I just mentioned before.
Yeah.
And then a sense of entitlement. So that they deserve things without earning them.
Mm-hmm.
And that. So those are the big, big, big red flag things that you need to look out for. And then also, you can also tell when they get set off in one of these ways, if they have no ability to listen to any kind of logic or reasoning around the situation, and they just declare that they're right and that their way is the gospel and that every other countering opinion is wrong, you're dealing with a narcissist. Because any normal human being can, even if it takes them a week to realize it, to come down from some crazy situation, they might come back later and be like, you know what, I thought about this and you're right, I might have messed up, that I might not have been right. A narcissist will never utter words even close to that, ever.
Right.
No. There is no ever admission of guilt or being wrong. It's not even an option.
Never.
Right.
That subject will just never come up. Because admitting that they were wrong or flawed in any way they may as well be dead.
Yeah.
To them. That's death. That's annihilation for them.
Wow.
So Imani, share your story. And then I'm gonna share one.
No, it just trips me out because a really good friend of mine, and I'll pull him up. I won't say his name. Let's just call him Z. Everybody knows him.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've known him for almost 20 years. And I met him at the place where I lived in Culver City.
Okay.
And
the fact that he has a shirtless photo is his primary photo.
Yeah.
And those abs.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That says everything.
Yeah. That says everything. But let me tell you guys this.
You don't say.
Let me pull it up. So.
Oh my God.
Okay. So
Wouldn't have guessed that.
So first of all, it took me forever to even be his friend because Aquarius is a very closed off. It takes a minute to let people in.
Okay.
We're known for that, right?
Okay.
So it took him like a year to even get me to go out with him. And he lived like a door down from me in our old complex. So finally one day I said, what the hell? All right, Z, let's go out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That marked the rest. I mean, we've been the best of friends ever since. Even though I know this, and I've called him out on this many times. So, but the strange thing about it is I didn't really realize it until we went out one night. And this is years ago in Hollywood. This was back when, I don't remember the name of some of the clubs. They switch them every 6 months. But anyway, we brought these girls back to his place, right? I had never been in his place before. We walk in. And I see pictures of himself like this all over the apartment.
His own apartment?
Yes.
No.
And I
said, that's
Justin Rach, I walked in.
That's like some LA shit right
that's
here.
Like when people have their self on their screen on their lock screen on
Yeah.
phone.
Oh my God.
Yourself as your lock screen.
Oh my God. You know what's funny is I wrote down this singer that I've been in love with forever, and his lock screen is his own band, and he was wearing his own band shirt. And I was, because it took me a long time, and I realized one day, I was like, he's a really nice guy, but I was like, he's never asked me anything about myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all about him.
Yeah.
And others are only there for a real narcissist. Others are only there to support their ego.
Right.
Yeah.
To be like that's why narcissism, because they're so charming, they have like a posse of supporters, of people.
Yeah.
They're
Of
usually,
course.
yes.
Yeah, and those are the people that they're most fond of.
Exactly. And that's why a lot of Hollywood actors are narcissists, because they got to where they are by charming the pants off people. And they want that attention.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's why, they're just
So with this thing, we walk in, these girls walk in with us, and they see the photos everywhere. I see the photos everywhere. I'm turned off. They're turned off. They leave. They're like, oh yeah, this dude's weird. And they leave. You know what I mean? And I go,
good, they sensed it.
when they left, I said, Z, why do you have these photos of yourself all over the place, brother? Like, what's going on with you?
Right.
I literally thought something was wrong with him. Oh, Shakur, ain't no big deal. I just, I work. I'm like, Z, this is not normal.
But that's the thing. When somebody cannot
This is what I
recognize
told
how
him.
weird that is,
Right.
they're never going to see how weird it is.
They
Dude,
did.
I was like, Z, this is not normal.
They did a 90210 spinoff, and like one of the main girls had a big painting of herself when you walked in her house, and I remember thinking like, that's so LA. Like who would ever have that?
I have a Hollywood one too to tell you, but so I actually knew his mom. Still know her. I called his mom. I said, Mom, can you believe this? Me and Z brought some girls over, and he had pictures of himself all. She said, "What, Imani?" You know what I mean? Because he's from Missouri.
Okay.
The accent, everything. I said, yeah. So she got on his butt, and he took them all down the next day.
Good.
And she said, "Hey, what are you doing?"
Oh, because he probably has a weird relationship with his mom. Have you noticed that?
It's an Oedipus thing. It's a weird. But it's the attachment from the parents. That's what it is. It's like
so the actor that I told you guys about in the last episode, he's like obsessed with his mom, and like it's like she's the only woman in his life.
Well, because for him, there's no separation between him and his mother. Him and his mother are the same person.
Yeah, but also
Yeah,
like
That's why.
But a lot of times they never get married because it's like the mom is like the only woman in their life. Because that dude, he's like a 50-something bachelor. He's never been married. And I Googled him before I went to his house. He's never even had like a girlfriend that I can find on the internet. And he's very highly publicized.
Psycho with the mom.
Yes.
It's exactly what
He's
it is.
obsessed with
That's
his mom.
Yeah.
But that's the thing.
That's the only woman he posts about.
But that's what it is, because it's an improper, in whatever form, improper detachment from the mother. Attachment in the beginning and never detached in the healthy, normal way that children detach from their parents. So it is very common for narcissists to have that kind of bond with a parent, because there is, again, no separation between self and other.
Yeah.
So there's no boundaries there. He probably overshares with his mother about stuff in his life. And
Oh my God, his mom,
button.
he said his mom reads lines with him, and he was in a show where C-bombs, F-bombs, everything, and like disgusting, sexual stuff. And his mom would be like, I think you need to emphasize that line about the cum shot louder. And she's like in her 80s.
You want to know what's crazy about this guy? And God don't like ugly, and I love Z, but he kind of learned his lesson in a bad way, because
When's his birthday?
we would go March. He's a Pisces.
Oh, interesting.
What was funny is
it's not always on target there.
yeah,
Interesting.
it's not. So the funny thing about this guy, we would go out to clubs and stuff like that, and he would be lifting his shirt up, and he would be demeaning other guys and demeaning people, and like he would literally go up to guys and be like, I was getting my dick sucked when you were probably just in middle school or some shit. Like, he would say stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, Zach, what are you talking about?
It's not healthy.
Like, what are you? This happened for years.
Well,
So why are you friends with him?
Hold on, let me finish.
Oh, okay.
Because he's a good friend. He is a good friend. Besides what he was doing, he is a good friend. But it all came to a head. So then one night, he's with this chick, and he's walking into his his kitchen, and a glass falls on his face and slices his face open.
Oh,
He must
no.
have had a meltdown.
Right? And now he has this huge scar on his face.
Oh, that's the worst thing to do to a narcissist, right?
See? Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. See that? That happened
Oh, no.
because he fell on a glass in his face in his apartment. See? So when that happened,
It's
a
like,
lot of
it's like
that
the
stuff-
universe is trying to teach you a lesson, bud.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff he would go in the clubs and do, he stopped doing.
Yeah.
Years after that happened, we were on Main Street at the Victorian in the basement, and these dudes almost killed him. beat the shit out of him. And I was there, and I didn't even realize it was him until he got up, because he was balled up on the ground.
Wow.
And we went to court. It's a whole big thing going on with the Victorian and this, that, and the third. And when it happened, the first thing I said was, Z, what did you say to those guys?
Right.
Because I had saved them for so many years.
Guys would just walk up to you and beat you up.
Yeah, the black guy with the tattoos saved them for many years, him talking shit to people.
Yeah.
And the one time,
the gym,
right, and the one time,
drunk guys at a bar.
yeah, the one time I wasn't standing next to him is when he almost gets killed. And I didn't even realize it was him until he got up. I was like, oh shit, that's Z.
Yeah.
And I ran over to him anyway. To make a long story short, after that happened, he learned his lesson. And the strange thing about it was, after the court case, he had been saying the whole time, I didn't say nothing bad to his guys. Then it came out later, and he admitted after he lost the case, because those guys should have been convicted of like assault, whatever, but they weren't. The jury let them off.
Yeah.
Then he goes, yeah, Shakur, I remember calling some guys faggots. Had something to do with two girls. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Who we had seen coming from Circle Bar, who ended up back at the basement. And he said, yeah, I think I remember saying something about calling them faggots or something. I think they heard me. But I can't remember if I was. I'm like, Z, come on, you don't got a lie to me, but I've seen you do this stuff for years. So then it started to come out what really happened.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that he deserved to almost get killed that night, but I knew it was his mouth with the same narcissistic shit he had been doing for decades. Yeah. That's my whole point.
I think
the poor girls that tried to date that guy.
I know. Do you want to see pictures of my abs on the wall?
Yes. Talking about this.
I would.
Oh, if a girl didn't like him, it was the end of the world.
Oh yeah.
It's no way in hell they don't like him.
Right.
Whether we were at Bungalow, One Oak, Warwick, I would get him in all these places. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. If they didn't like him, it was a problem. I'd be like, Z, everybody's not gonna like you, brother.
What do you mean? Everyone loves me.
That's such a fragile.
How many guys look like me in LA? I'm a good-looking white boy.
A lot.
How many? Yeah.
A lot. It's LA. If there's any place where there's a high concentration of boys,
it's actually here.
It's LA. That's what I would tell him. You know what I'm saying?
Go to where would Missouri?
Oh my
Maybe Missouri
God,
you're a
dude.
10, but
I know. Yeah. No, not here. Sorry.
LA, you're a 6.
Anyway, regardless of what I'm saying, he is a good friend. He has been a good friend. But he's probably the worst narcissist I've ever met in my entire life.
Yeah, it sounds like
everything on your list is him.
Yeah. Well, there's a difference because, I think the past few guys I've dated have the tendencies where it's they talk about themselves, they love to be the victim, this and that, but they're not the extreme, what you talk about, well, they'll just cut you off. But when I was 21, I dated a guy and it was the most toxic relationship of my life. And I was you know how they say when you get out of a relationship with an actual narcissist and you're I was suicidal because they just they suck you in, right?
Also, one of the big things that narcissists do is gaslighting, which you may or may not have heard of the term.
What's
gaslighting.
that?
So gaslighting is when it's a super manipulative person who has done things to make you feel like the crazy one.
Yes.
So they will do and say things and not follow up or whatever, but they'll twist the scenario so that you're actually beginning to question your own sanity. You start to feel like the crazy one, and that is master manipulation.
And then they act if they try to come back around, they act like they didn't do anything wrong, right? Like we were talking about before.
And so wait, did I imagine this whole thing? Did this person did that not happen?
Oh no!
These crazy things that this person said and did. Did I just
Oh no! Oh, I knew it did, but I was how does he think back on that relationship fondly? Because he basically charmed me. And I told you a little bit about this story. I was I was actually 20. I just moved to my first apartment and I said, oh, I just need a DVD player and a coffee maker. And he showed up at my house for our first date with a DVD and a coffee maker. And I was like, oh my God, what a nice guy. He sucked me in. I was so charmed by him. But once we got into it, he was emotionally abusive. And it's so hard to explain that to people and justify that because there's not, if it's he hit me, he's a jerk. But if I try to explain the emotional stuff and it's they don't understand it, but he basically had a long-term girlfriend of 6 years and he was I'm not, I'm in love with you. I need to break up with her and I want us to be together. But he dragged it out for so long that I was okay, this isn't cool. You have another girlfriend. Let's reconvene this when you guys break up. I'm not going to be the side chick. and he would flip out. It was like, yeah, there was no empathy. Like, what do you mean? You knew what the situation is when you got into this with me. It was my fault. Like he turned it. Like it was crazy. And he would flip out. Like if I was like, no, I don't want to do this. Like he would flip out on me. And then he would make me cry every time we drank, and there was no empathy. Yeah. He was like, "Why are you crying?" I had to call in. Yeah. I had to call into work like one day because my eyes were so swollen, and I worked with him. And I remember I was like, "I'm not coming to work today." Yeah, there was no empathy, and then he would like shut me off. Like he would cut me off, but then he would come back around and like that.
They need that validation again. They need to know that you're still there. And I have a good friend of mine was in a relationship on and off for several years with a narcissist who was the king of gaslighting and would constantly do things to make her, who's a very sane, calm, loving, sweet, normal girl, make her question her own sanity. And over again, because he was so charming and would say all the right things to bring her back in every time, and she would believe him because she was a good person and because it's like there's an expression in Spanish that basically means that thieves think everyone else is a thief because they know what thieves are capable of.
Because what you accuse others of what you're guilty of, I always say.
So
guys who cheat, if they accuse you of cheating, it's because they're cheating.
Right.
Yeah.
But the same goes for people who are good. If you have good intentions, you never in a million years think that other people are capable of evil. Right. And I've had problems with that myself because I do just think everyone's inherently good. Like, why aren't you a good person? So, and my poor friend, like, she's that way too. So she, like, gave this person too many chances. But, like, he would always make her feel like she was the crazy one. She's like, maybe I am crazy. I'm like, no, you're not crazy.
You're not.
Yeah.
At all. Like,
he's crazy.
He's the crazy one.
No, she's super sweet.
That's what they do. They do
Yes.
that, and then they'll come back around and act like nothing ever happened.
Right.
Totally.
And they're always the charming one. And the thing that is really the biggest mind fuck about it all is that they always have tons of friends because they're so charming, and everyone in their inner circle thinks they're the greatest person.
Yep.
So then you're like,
That's
well, maybe
Z.
there's something wrong with me because I see all these flaws.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm the one who. Maybe they're just mean to me.
Right.
So
And
like,
they're nice to everyone
so
else.
like my narcissist didn't have a ton of friends, but at work he was like he was the man everyone loved. Totally.
Yeah.
And so I was like, everyone loves him at work. Like no one would even believe me if I told them he was like this. But yeah, totally.
They're the worst to the people closest to them. And that's why, because the people that give them so many accolades and adoration are usually like superficial, like arm's length friends. And the ones that come into the inner circle are the ones they abuse. So like my grandmother abused the shit out of my mother for years. And the fact that my mom is a normal person and like was a decent, good mother is, I give her so much credit for that because my grandmother was awful to her. And like everything was always about my grandmother. She put herself first, and it's just like, so they abuse the ones the closest to them.
Right.
That's why it can be such a mind fuck. So
and that's probably why we don't hang out because I'm so honest with him.
Yeah.
I don't give a. I tell him exactly like it was. He almost tried to blame me for getting beat up at the basement.
Of course. And
But I was like, are you
It's
crazy?
not his fault.
Yeah, we had a huge falling out because of that for like weeks. And he called and actually said sorry.
But
I'm like,
my ex for years, like after we broke up, I was like so depressed, and then thank God, like I looked back and I was like, thank God I did not end up with him. He's a lunatic. But to this day, like every couple of years, he will message me. Like he emailed me once. He sent me a message on LinkedIn and was like, oh my God, every time I see your picture, my heart stops. He tried to get together with me, and I was like, are you high? Like we had like you emotionally abused me for years.
They don't know.
They don't
That's what I
see
mean.
it like that.
That's what I mean.
They don't
Like
see it at all.
in his mind, we had this great relationship, and in my mind, I'm like, that was the worst time in my whole life.
Yeah.
You know, like how do you think that was okay?
Yeah.
And
It's
like,
so crazy.
My friend, she finally had the guts to cut it off with this person and was like, it's time for us to end contact, leave my life. I was so proud of her for doing that, and it was the best decision she made.
They come back.
But the guy said some really awful things right back to her, like immediately, like impulse just said like, and basically it was like, I'll have a relationship like, and it'll be good when it's right, and like just kind of threw it back in her face, and it was like, no, actually he won't, but whatever, that's a totally different story. But the point is that they ran into each other a few weeks later, and he acted like nothing ever happened, and just like went over, give this huge hug and a kiss on the cheek. It's like, you literally just stomped all over her heart, and now you're gonna act like nothing happened. They don't even see it that way.
No, they don't.
They don't. They're so
Because they're so used to behaving that way, it's normal. That's actually normal for them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't ran into any narcissistic women, thank God. When I go down your list.
Oh, that's good.
It is good. I know one narcissistic woman, and I mean, my grandmother obviously knew she's passed away, but I know this one girl, like, she's very good friends with my one friend, but everywhere this girl goes, she makes enemies. Like, everyone, she's beautiful, so, like, she gets a lot of attention, but, like, then her true character comes out, and, I mean, I think people just ultimately realize what a shitty person is. Like, a shitty person's a shitty person.
Yeah.
This girl
Either
isn't charming enough to get friends. She's just an asshole, so, like, she turns people off very quickly, but, like, it's, the classic signs is like, it's always everyone else's fault. She's always calling. So this is one of my favorite lines in the entire world. If you meet an asshole in the morning, you met an asshole. If you meet assholes all day long, you're the asshole.
Oh, that's true.
So if everyone else is an asshole that you're meeting,
Right.
Something's wrong with you. Yep.
You're the
I say
asshole.
the same thing. I say the same thing.
All right,
And
so-
you want to know what's funny? Just real quick.
Yeah.
Hanging out with her without just saying it on the thing.
Yep.
What was interesting?
Oh, I hung out with her actually at the Coachella party too this year.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. And in correlation to Z, what's interesting, hanging out with her and a lot of other friends in my industry and being out with them and seeing how people act when we're in like VIP and stuff like that. Ended up going to her house and she literally just had one huge poster of herself.
Not
I can see
surprising.
that.
Not
I can see
surprising.
And in the kitchen, like the dining area.
it's like
Yeah.
when kings and queens
Right.
just have portraits made of themselves and put on the
Yes.
little
Right.
castle.
But it
Yeah.
wasn't like Z all over the place though. I was like, oh, it's just one.
Just
big
one.
That's
Still one. I think that's still one too many.
If it was an artistic rendering, that's one thing. But if it's just a photograph,
Yeah, it was like a huge photo
That's
thing.
It's very LA
Yeah.
though.
I guess.
I think it's very.
But and I was surprised because what I
castle.
Yeah.
because what I saw in person when we hung out, it was just different, and I was like, okay, just one, all right, and I was comparing it to Z.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Z was worse. You would think he was a superstar.
Yeah,
A-list
that's
actor.
he wants to be.
You know what I mean? He definitely wants to be.
He's the celebrity of his own life.
But he's in a way of himself. Anything he's ever read for me, he's bombed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's true. And he does background all the time. He's a SAG background actor.
Oh, yeah.
He does
Well, that's
background all
what
the
he'll
time.
do.
Because he gets in the way of himself with castings
Right,
all the time.
because you have to be humble, right?
You have to be humble.
There's a likableness that casting directors will notice.
Yep.
I
And
think.
they don't want to work with someone who's a diva.
Yep.
Like that makes
No.
your job 10 times harder. Why
So,
would you want
so when I
this
took an acting class, they said there's 3 things that they'll think when you walk into a room. Do they look like what they're casting? Do they act like what we're casting? And do we want to be in a room with this person?
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And so he's somebody they probably don't want to be in a room with. Like when I go in, I'm like, hey guys, what's up? I just came from the Peach Pit. They did a pop up. I love 90210. Like I just like talk to
Yeah.
them real time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And people like love that.
Yeah.
You don't want to be like a prima donna. Can I do that one over? Just-
Well, because
Right.
there's enough A-listers that are just, ruin everyone's day.
that you
They're
don't
like,
want to work with.
Yeah, they're like, you hear about it all the time. They're like, that person was a nightmare to work with.
Yes.
And,
which is really sad because some of them are really good actors,
Yeah.
but they're
Yeah.
probably a nightmare to work with. And
they
that,
don't wanna get-
Yeah,
and then,
I was gonna say a lot of my entertainment friends are cool, but they probably act different with me. You know what I'm saying? Than they
Yeah.
would act with like the person that's not in the.
Yeah, you
general
hear-
public.
hear
They,
things.
they treat the PAs like shit. Like, the
Yeah.
people running around in the
Yeah.
background,
Yeah,
not
of
stuff like
course.
that. Like the main.
yeah. But my acting teacher said, like, if anyone's like, do it this way, you're like, you should just be like, yeah, totally. That, I love that. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they
Yeah.
always, sometimes they'll tell you to read it a different way.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, you're totally right. Because my thing is, I always need to slow down. Because I'm
Mm-hmm.
from Boston, I'm very fast. So I like race through my lines. And he's like, cool, we're going to do it again. Just slow it down. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, he's right. I'm like fast because
Yeah.
I do everything fast. And so
That's
I like
funny.
take a moment to think about it. And then he's like, that was great. You did everything I asked. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
So everyone's got their own things.
That's good. I
Yeah.
mean,
People want people who are directable. Like, if they
Oh, absolutely.
That's what I mean.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you don't want the person who's like, no, my way was
Absolutely.
perfect.
Yeah.
And
They
you want
have
to
a
know what?
vision, so-
Yeah.
You know what,
Yes.
Rachel? A lot of people don't realize. We would love to stop casting.
Right.
That's what people don't realize.
Right.
We would love for you to be the one.
Right.
Yeah, right? You don't have to keep
Instead of
doing
going through
They're on your side. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like they
we
want
want you to be the
you to be
one.
great.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah,
everyone's like, I
man.
hate auditions. I'm like, I love them. It's fun. Like you meet new people. Who cares?
That's
you learn
awesome.
something.
You have
new.
the right attitude,
You challenge
yeah.
yourself because I've read books too that are like have that mentality. Yeah.
Right, I'm ready to
Yeah.
go on an audition.
I
Where do
know,
start?
I know, I know. When I met her, I was like, "Are you an actress?" Because you looked like an actress. actor? She's like, no, I like in real estate. I was like, oh, that's
But
funny.
I did used to do plays when I was in middle school.
Oh, I did too. I
That's
did
funny.
too. It was
I have one question
Sherlock
before we go.
Holmes.
How do you help fix a narcissist? Is there anything you can do?
No, I was. Well,
even though I talked to Z, you just saw his Facebook.
No,
He's
but I was going to say before we close, how do you identify if you're dating a narcissist and like avoid, how do you notice the red flags?
I'll tell you one way you know that you're dating a narcissist. If you feel bad all the time and you're constantly walking on eggshells and need to please this person, they are probably a narcissist or have extreme narcissistic tendencies, and you've been caught in the web.
That's probably my ex.
And in general,
And it's funny because I actually know narcissists who are like, I hate narcissists. This is disgusting, and they don't even realize that they're a narcissist.
But it's really like an overarching rule in general when you're dating. If it's feeling bad more than it's feeling good, why are you still there? Like, don't relationships are supposed to be fun and enjoyable.
Yeah.
Like, obviously they require work, but if you're feeling bad, that's just not good.
Yeah.
And everybody should put the other person first. So my dad said this to me, the reason marriages fall apart or relationships fall apart is because you stop putting the other person first. And I was like, totally, because I always put the other person first. And then I realized, in my last relationship, I was like, he never puts me first. He puts him first. We're both putting you first. Yeah. That's a problem, right? So, yeah, I think if you notice the other person is focusing on themselves and not you, if they're putting themselves first and not you,
yeah, and
they gotta go.
There's a certain type of person that is attracted to narcissists, and usually, if you've had a parent that's a narcissist, you're more likely to date a narcissist.
Yeah, I've done it.
So be aware. If you have a parent that's like that, you need to know that about yourself and know that you might, because you're recreating that scenario, hoping for a different result.
Yep.
So be very hyper aware of that, because it is a very specific type. It's like a beta type personality that needs to be like the sidekick. That's usually the person that falls into dating a narcissist. And but the key takeaway is you cannot change a narcissist. If you have one in your life, you can choose not to date one. Don't choose to date a narcissist. Get yourself out of the situation. But if you have someone in your life, a loved one, a mother, a father,
a friend,
a sibling, a friend, and you want to keep them in your life, or you have to keep them in your life, all you can do is manage that relationship. You have to know the trigger points to stay away from. You have to keep your distance. Don't let yourself get emotionally invested. Don't always have to be right. You just have to manage that relationship and put the effort in there. But I do not suggest that you try and manage a relationship with a spouse or a partner. If they're a narcissist, you should consider getting yourself out.
I agree with that.
Yeah, because you're gonna feel a lot if you're in a relationship with one, even if you love them. It's get out, because you will feel so whole.
Once you
recover and you break.
Yeah.
Honest to God, it took me over a year to get over my last one, because you get so sucked in. It's you almost don't even know who you are anymore. Yeah. And then one day you're like, oh my God, I am so much better off without them.
Yes. It's why do I hit myself in the face? Because it feels so good when I stop. It does. You feel you learn a lot about yourself through these things. And if you date one narcissist, you're probably not going to date another one, because you were put through the washing machine on that. You don't need to go back through spin cycle to deal.
And you don't realize it. I just realized it this past year. The victim and the hero line, I was like, oh, that's my dad. And I was like, the victim, oh my God, that's the past couple of guys I've dated. Oh my God. I was like, I date narcissists.
I have another one. This I think is the very first way you can tell someone's a narcissist, if you go out to dinner with them and they're rude to the server.
Oh yeah.
Narcissists are rude to servers. That is the number one. I'm not saying that everyone who's rude to a server is a narcissist, but I'm telling you, it's the first indicator.
Or just
don't date someone.
Or just that they talk about themselves incessantly. Because I went on a date with a guy and he left me a whole voicemail about why he couldn't take me out that week because he was so busy because he had all these things going on. And I was like, I'm not even free this week. Who are you? You don't even know my schedule.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And I was like, red flag.
Well, and the guy I talked about on the last episode, the one who got weird after the wedding, that was him. He texted me every day. He did the good morning texts. And I never reached out to him. I never chased him. He literally hit me up all the time.
Yep.
The only thing I ever did was when are we going out on a date? But he was always hitting me up first. But when he would call, he'd call me on his way home from work almost every day. And he would
That was my
talk
ex
about
too.
himself
Yes, that was my ex.
all the
That was my
time,
ex.
How his day went and how his boss treated him, and then this.
That was my ex every day. His work, when he went to the gym, what he
Yeah.
ate for breakfast. And I was
Yeah.
like, where am I in this conversation? Because I
Yeah.
almost feel like at that point, you're talking at me. You're not talking to
To
me.
me, yeah.
It's not a two-way street. I could be anyone.
I know.
Because that's the whole thing is like, you're
That's
not
the
valuing
truth.
me as a person. I could be anyone. You just need someone to talk
Talk
at.
to.
I'm your diary,
Exactly.
essentially.
And that
Right.
was like red flags I ignored in the beginning because I was just like, I had dated someone right before that who it didn't work out, and I was like, and he whatever. But so this one just came around at the right time, and it was like, you know, maybe I fell victim to getting attention, whatever, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is that like it felt wrong in the beginning, and I didn't pay enough attention to it, and I should have. But obviously, it only lasted a month, so that's fine. But like, I just noticed, like, yeah, I was like, I don't even think he knows who I am. He's like not even getting the full value out of me.
Because you're not a person at
Yeah.
that point. You're a
Yeah.
diary. You're a sounding board.
I
Yeah.
was like, he doesn't know
funny.
anything. I was like, I wonder if he even knows if I have any siblings. Like, you know, it was
Right.
like,
Don't know
Right.
like
anything.
I honestly didn't think, and I was like, you know what, and that's when made it so easy to cut it off because I was just like, you know what, this is not.
But when I met my ex, I had been single for 5 years and I just wanted something. I think I was like more apt to fall prey to that, right? And I think now if I notice that, I'd be like, oh, hell no, nope, you're one of those.
Yeah.
Bye. And you cut it off, right?
And you know what's crazy real quick before we go about my friend Z too? He goes on the dating apps and people enable who he is though, because he never takes no one out, puts no effort in. Girls just come over and he sleeps with them.
That's
all the time.
Oh, that was the friend you told me
yeah.
about.
Girl come over. He's like, Shakur, I ain't taking them out and doing all that.
But that-
well,
What's up,
they're
move?
feeding the beast.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm
why-
saying.
but
They're
that's
feeding the beast,
yeah.
big time.
But like what we talked about in the last episode, it's so true. Like if this is happening to you, if these people are putting in minimal effort, pay attention to that.
Right.
Like, don't stick around for that. Don't like have some self-respect.
These girls
and-
are asking for it.
Yeah.
You're going to get an STD. Like,
Yeah.
why are you sleeping with a guy on an app that hasn't even taken you out?
Oh,
Like,
yeah. He does that all
have
the time.
self-respect. So he's capitalizing on insecure women.
Yeah.
Who are just like, oh, okay, he likes me. He wants me to come over.
And it is. It's
Yeah.
feeding that animal and that's.
But they're
what
probably
keeps
young,
eating.
right? Are they young?
No.
No,
Not at
it's not, they don't
all.
have to be young. There are plenty of insecure
Dude,
women.
I can show you
Okay.
pictures you sent me of
Yeah.
one of them, like
Okay.
40 something. No, they're
40
not
somethings
young.
are actually even.
Well,
like,
that-
divorced even at 40.
They're like
They're-
desperate older women. Yeah.
But it's like they want to still feel like
Yeah.
they got it.
Yes.
So they'll
Yeah.
sleep with a hot guy with a six-pack.
There's
Yes.
30s
I still
and
got
all.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's late 20s, 30s. I mean, they get
That actually makes more sense if they're in their
And
40s.
especially if they
Yeah.
got married young and like they never really went through the dating obstacles, and now they're single in their 40s, and maybe their husband was cheating on them with a younger woman. Like they got
Yeah.
full loaded.
Yeah,
experience
yeah.
At this point,
That makes sense.
So it's
But it's a
not
younger
just-
one, so it's rare that it's a 40s though.
The guy
It's
that- the
usually
guy
in
that's-
20s, 30s, it's all that.
The guy that's breadcrumbing me right now, he's like 35 and his girlfriend is like 46, and I was like, that makes sense. Yeah.
Interesting.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, something more else you want to say?
I think that's we.
Yeah,
are.
I think we're good.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I was gonna talk about this guy that broke on me, but that's like. Yeah.
Okay.
No, we're good. I
Cool.
think that's we put a nice little bow on it, and just don't date a narcissist.
Yeah.
The minute you realize you're dating one and you feel
Yeah.
great,
Value
get
yourself,
out.
everyone.
Value yourself.
If they're not asking you about yourself,
Yeah.
they gotta go.
Yeah.
Have a clear list of what you want out of a relationship, and if you're not getting it, bounce. The
Yeah.
end.
Yeah. I'm glad I've never dealt with
They
one.
should
and-
make you feel special.
Yeah. Now I know what to look for if I do run across
But the thing
one.
is, you have to be careful because the narcissist will make you feel special
Initially.
in the beginning.
In the
Initially.
beginning.
And that's when they suck you in. They pull you into
Then
the
it
web.
goes
So
back
you
to
just-
them.
Yeah, but if you start to notice those flags, you run. You jump ship.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, that's our show.
That's it.
Thank you, Jess, for coming back. So
for having
nice.
me.
We had to bring her twice. It's Imani Shakur and Rachel K. Burke. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. And thank you for listening on all of the streaming platforms. We love you guys. Keep listening. And we'll keep bringing you great information about relationships. Peace out. We'll see you next week.
Bye.